Howdy everybody, and we're going to do a relatively quick to the point video on the CV90120 TML and whether you should get it or not. Now, I'm not going to tell you to get it, but use this video as reference and give yourself an idea of whether you think you might like it. Uh, One of the main selling points of this tank is its acceleration, its top speed, the maneuverability of it, and the fact that it gets a 105. Now, it doesn't get any kind of roof mounted machine gun or anything like that. It's basically the 105 and a very low rifle caliber coax, but that's not why you're playing it for a machine gun. You're playing it because it's a very capable light tank. It's one of the best in other people's perspectives. I tend to believe that it is, but I like the BMPs more. But anyways, let's get back to this. Here's the stat cards for this. On the left is like the general stat card, and then on the right, you're seeing the DM23 round, which is the APF SDS that I recommend using. You do get DM12 heat, you do get DM502 HESH, but I don't recommend carrying the heat. You can, and I don't recommend using the M735 APF SDS. I mean, DM23 is an option. Why would you use the 735? Anyways, I'll get into the reason here in a second. The reason why I don't suggest carrying heat is because darts are an option. You're going to run into tanks that are carrying ERA. You're going to run into composite armor. If your heat can't go through it, chances are the APF SDS will. Now, obviously, the Leopard 2A4 and some of the Russian upper plates, like T72, unless you don't hit the weak spot, are going to give you some problems. Your heat rounds aren't going to solve that problem, so there you go. There's my reasoning. Anyways, I carry HESH on this, and you're going to see in a really funny clip later that I know that this dude was either confused or very aggravated that I did it. But it is a common enough reason that I have started doing. Well, I've been doing it for a while, but the fact that I can carry HESH, I'm going to carry a few of them because of the situation that I'm referring to. So once you see me do it, if you're on the same page as me, you'll carry it as well when you use this. Heat rounds don't reliably do it, so that's why I don't use them for the circumstance. But let me just tell you, it is hilarious. Anyways, back to this tank. The maneuverability of this tank is very, very good. Looks can be a little deceiving. It is a very large tank, being taller than this T64, for instance, but the T64 is a relatively low profile tank anyways, but what I'm getting at is that it's not BMP levels of small, it's not another light tank, inner small light tank here, BMP3. Most Russian light tanks are pretty small. This one's not, but the looks will be deceiving to you because it has a very high top speed. Well, not super high, it's not weasel levels, but it's 43 miles an hour. The acceleration is really good, off-road and on-road. You have the ability to neutral steer, and your reverse gear is very, very, very good. Like, you can shoot and scoot very quickly in this tank, which is something I recommend doing because you cannot take a hit to the turret. You can, and the chances of it one-shotting you is very high because of how tightly packed your turret is. Now, you have second gen thermals in this tank now, where when I first got it, back when it came out, it had first gen, and the gunner sight had a very, very bad FOV. It doesn't have that anymore. As you can see, it's very open, and sorry, you probably heard my dog, but anyways, the gunner sight has a very well, a lot better FOV. It's not a very tight FOV like it had a long time ago, and it has the second gen thermals now. Both the commander and the gunner get them. The gunner can take over, or the commander can take over for the gunner. Sorry, I got that backwards. So if you get hit and only your gunner gets knocked out, you can still fire. And I show an example of that here after this clip. There's going to be a Bradley that I don't see. Now, we all know that no armor is best armor because a lot of the times rounds fly straight through you and don't do anything. This is kind of one of those examples. If they hit the turret, it's more than likely going to one-shot you. If it hits your side and it's low and in the middle, they'll fly right through it without killing you in one shot. He hits me with a dart, and it hits low, mid, and it only barely hits my gunner and it kills him. But since the commander can fire the gun, I immediately was able to shoot him and kill him, and I'm still in the fight. Now, there's a lot of times that you'll wind up fighting tanks with larger guns, all the way up to 125s because of the Russians, and they can shoot your side, and if they hit too low, they're not going to hit your ammo, and they're probably not going to hit your crew, and you'll be able to return a shot. Don't rely on that though. Your engine also, being in the front, can eat a lot of rounds. It's not going to stop every round, but there's a chance that it stops pretty much every autocannon. There's also a armored, like a panel behind the engine. A lot of light tanks that have an engine in the front. The Makarov, even though it's a main battle tank, has this. Will stop pretty much all of the shrapnel from getting through it if the round doesn't pin, which is a good thing for the engine being in the front. But don't, like I said, don't rely on this thing's armor. It doesn't have any. Planes, HE, and artillery are probably the three biggest things for this tank, because you don't have the ability to return fire to a plane. And if a plane strafes you and he does like a gun run and he starts from the back to the front, chances are he's going to kill you as soon as it hits the back of the tank. They have a very large ammo rack at the left rear corner of this tank's hull, which makes it relatively hard to back the tank up around a corner where you can possibly take a shot and be able to shoot back. If you didn't want to become immobilized by pointing your front end around the corner and then shooting your driver or your engine before you're able to get the whole gun around the corner, and then you try to back around that same corner, you can get hit in the ammo rack pretty much instantly. So it's a very awkward situation to deal with, but it is not something this thing can't handle. You have the ability to use artillery, so you could use that to try to make the person move and possibly use your acceleration to jump a shot around the corner. But if you're ever in that situation, chances are you're either in a city or there's literally no one on your team left, because the way I like to play this tank is sitting as far back as I can and using the 105 to the best of its abilities. And it does very good at that. It's a very accurate gun with a good round, like I mentioned earlier. Now, another bad thing about the tank. It's a very weird thing. This thing has a very, very loud engine. I don't know why. I have no idea why it's so loud. It's not quite XM1 Abrams level of loud with that turbine engine, but this thing, if you can barely hear the enemies driving near you, they can 100% hear you. And I don't really know why, but one thing I do appreciate for this tank is that the exhaust is not at the front end of the tank. It's coming out the rear, where when you're aiming over where the engine is or anywhere on the front or sides of the tank, unless you're pointing basically over the ass end of the tank, the exhaust is not going to block your field of vision, which is a very good thing. That is something that the BMP deals with. That is something that the M1128 deals with. That is something that a lot of tanks that have the engine in the front deal with. So this is the clip where the Hesh comes into play, and I find it hilarious. So there is a light tank sitting on that hill. They believe that's the new Italian tank, the VCC 8030, I believe. I don't think it's a Dardo. Anyways, I hit him, take out his breech. I reload, I'm trying to throw another round at him, and I see the top of his commander sight, which I believe that's the commander sight on that tank. So I fire, I'm reloading a Hesh, I laze that part of his tank, and I'm going to hit it with the Hesh. Now I shot too high, but it hit him. It took it out. He's repairing, and he's not moving. I shoot the second time and hit a little bit lower, and it hits the roof of the tank, and it kills the entire crew. So that's why I carry it. That dude's probably trying to figure out how in the hell I did that, but it's funny. So that's why I did it. Another thing about this is that your reload with a very not very high level crew is going to be about 8.7 seconds, which is a pretty long time. But it's not too bad. It could be worse, but that's pretty long. The lowest that you can get with a expert or ace crew, it goes completely maxed out, is going to be 6.7 seconds. That is the lowest that you can get it, which is pretty damn fast. Mine's not maxed out, so mine's in the 7.7 range, I believe. I think it's about 7.7. So you can get it pretty quick in this, but keep that in mind that the reload can be over 8.5 seconds when you first get it. Now, I don't recommend low level players getting any kind of top tier vehicle until they understand how the game works, the mechanics, or play that tier. But more power to you if you already know what you're doing. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed. If you want me to do a review on the J29, I will, but I won't get it done before the sale ends. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. I'll see y'all later.